Hello, welcome to Pensions in 10 with me, David Brooks, and a new co-host, Kelly Parsons, head of DC propositions here at Broadstone. So welcome, Kelly, along to this fun that we call Pensions in 10. This time, obviously, we're going to look at the budget. So Kelly and I give you our favourite bits from the budget, and then we give you an update on where we are with pension scams. Okay, Kelly, I think we couldn't get very far into Pensions in 10 this week without looking back at the budget from last week. So I think we're going to do a to me to you type situation. I'm going to ask you what your 2 or 3 big stories out of the budget that people should know about, and then hopefully I get a chance to give you my ones as well.
Cool.
So
I mean, I think the big one for us, or for me particularly, is the changes to salary sacrifice. I mean, the good thing is that it's not going to be anything's going to be happening until April 2029. So what exactly is happening is that they're capping the amount of relief or national insurance relief you can get on salary sacrifice pensions at £2,000. Now, for a lot of people, that probably won't impact them, won't be so much of an issue, but it's those people who actually paying quite a lot more or getting much higher pension contributions, or bigger earners, really. As I say, it's 2029 when it's going to be kicking in. So there is actually plenty of time. There's a big window that employers could actually think about what they could do with regards to cost mitigation. They could look at the plan designs, see what they could do, maybe transitioning to non-contributory pension schemes, maybe looking at hybrid, so having part of it salary sacrifice up to the 2,000, and then moving over to non-contributory for that. So employers are still getting that benefit. But anyway, the key thing is there's massive period of time until something needs to be done. Still important for employers to think about what they need to do. But national insurance, as I say, up to 2,000. Now, just quickly, it's 8% employees save on up to the 50,270, and then above that, it's 2% national insurance. But for employers, this is the key thing, and I think these are the ones that are going to get stung the most, especially with bigger earners, is the 15%. That employers have to pay, so they are potentially going to be stung once again, I'm afraid. So that was a key thing, I think, for national insurance around that salary sacrifice. The other thing, I suppose, that should be noted is around ISAs. They're changing the format of those a little bit. So there's a cap of £12,000 that people can pay into cash ISAs. Everything over and above that, up to the 20,000 threshold. So that's not changing. It's still 20,000 that people can put in and save tax-free. But it will need to be stocks and shares ISAs. So that means there'll be a bit more investing for people, which may feel a bit scary. That's up to the age of 65, over and above 65. People can still pay in, still can do 20,000 in cash ISAs, which probably makes sense, or definitely makes sense for those that they're in retirement. They want a bit more caution rather than having stocks and shares. So those are the key things for me. I think that is actually a really positive step, because I do think people do shy away a bit from investing, and it can be super beneficial for people. So, yeah, interesting. Yeah. What about yourself?
Okay.
Or have you come up with anything that you've spotted?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So, the big ones for my side of the world, I suppose, and sort of DB pensions and sort of pensions administration would be the PPF being asked to pay pre-97 increases on pensions and payment for schemes where they would have been paying that originally, had the scheme not fallen into the PPF whenever it did. So that's quite an interesting one. It's been a long-running discussion that PPF has been asked to, asking government to think about whether they should do that, and the equity argument built up. Obviously, the PPF have got a decent sized surplus now, and also trying to give people some sort of inflation protection. So a lot of people have lost out over many years, potentially, had their scheme not fall into the PPF, had their employer not failed. And so they're going to introduce that, highly likely to be from January 2027. So they normally give the increase to compensation earlier in the year, so there just isn't enough time to get that sorted out. The legislation will go through in the finance bill next year, and I suspect down in PPF Towers, wherever that is these days, I can't remember. Croydon? Is it Croydon?
Not sure.
I feel like it's Croydon. I think it's Croydon. They'll be scrabbling around trying to work out how they do this. So I'm not sure what data they'd have received when they took these schemes on, whether to identify members with pre-07 benefits, or what the rules would have said, if they've got enough documentation to clarify exactly which benefits. I'm hoping it's easy for them. Could be quite an admin headache if it isn't, but hopefully that can be sorted out quickly over the next year. They've also said they're not expecting it to have an impact on the funding. The PPF, obviously, they've got a large surplus. It's going to be roughly no more than £2 billion added to their costs, so it shouldn't eat into that too much. So that's very good news for those members that are in the PPF. In addition, another story is the the surplus payments for, is DB actually, where the scheme's in surplus and wants to share some of that surplus with the employer. Currently, it's quite difficult to share any upside with members, and so the government are going to allow for a payment to be made to members, a taxable benefit, taxable lump sum, if you're over normal minimum pension age. So the employer can get their millions of pounds, whatever, in surplus out, and then anything that the trustees and the employer want to share their members can be divvied up amongst those members and paid out as a one-off lump sum, a taxable one-off lump sum as well, which is helpful because trustees want to be treating all their beneficiaries equitably, so the employer and the members, and actually finding a way of paying members in a way that doesn't add to the ongoing cost of the plan by doing it through pension increases or boosting up that pension. There's also some tax implications for that as well. I mean, even though the lifetime allowance has gone, I think technically BCE 3, nerd alert, actually could kick in if you start increasing pensions by too much. So there are some, pitfalls for that. So the government will create a new authorised lump sum. And if I can squeeze in one last one, it's the inheritance tax. Some of the process around how that works from April 27 was going to cause headaches to personal representatives with managing estates where they may not have as much liquidity in there as they would like to be able to meet the tax charges. They're going to be able to use that liquidity in the pension benefits. So they're going to ask administrators to hold on to half of the benefits for the beneficiaries for up to 15 months in order that this can be paid out if there are some tax charges. And also to get a clean clearance if there's any pension benefits that arise out of nowhere. So, your story is the big one. There's still a few little nuggets in there that kind of get me excited. So I think we're all happy, really.
Yeah, I think so. What are those nuggets that get you excited?
I'm such a nerd.
Love it. So I heard you're talking about scams quite often. I hear there's quite a bit of movement and development on that. What's going on? And is there a pledge of some nature that something's happening?
Yeah. Oh, the pledge. Yes. So the regulator issued this a few years ago that schemes should sign up to their pledge to do what they can to support scams. So the pledge sort of suggests the trustees have scams as high on their risk agenda, and that they're looking at this and working with their administrators to make sure that they're doing what they can to protect members. And so the regulator's urging trustees to do more on this. I know some trustees have been slightly reticent to sign up, partly because I think some of the controls it's sort of saying they'll do, they delegate to other parties, administrators or others that might be involved with the plan. And so there's some slight nervousness, but I think it's a great thing to do. I did it with a few of my schemes that I work on. We signed up the pledge because we felt like it was a sign really to our membership, and also sort of acknowledged it on a board level that we do take scams seriously, that we will look at things and make sure that we're doing what we can to protect members. And a lot of that comes down to just informing members of the potential risks. There are still huge risks out there for scams. The true scope of it is probably unknown. It may never be known because some people will be out there right now who have been scammed and you don't know it because it's happening. It's happening in the background. Your pension's already being taken by the scammers. It's only when you come to want to take the money back out again will you know that it's gone. And we hear about it so many times, ombudsman cases. There are so many scams out there that we need to do what we can to protect our members. So this is a semi-regular call to any trustees listening to make sure that it's just getting closer to newsletter seasons. If you've done your April-March accounts, they've been signed off recently, thinking about doing a newsletter, updating your members on where they are, then do try and do that. Do try and do a regular newsletter and do include something on scams, how you can help your members protect themselves. And the big one as well, the last was a few months ago, we had the impersonation scam issue the regulator was warning people about as well. So that's kind of more from our side to make sure that we're aware and verifying people who are who they say they are. And again, warning people about that to keep their personal data safe, that's not being misappropriated and people aren't taking money out of their pensions even before, the scammers can get it. That's literally being stolen. Earlier on. So scams remains a big issue and I will never stop talking about it.
They are getting more sophisticated as well, aren't they, these scammers? They're getting pretty good at it. Yeah, so you've got to be careful. I had one phone me actually and he was trying to get me to give some details. And they were saying, yes, we're from, it was Amazon, so it's not quite the same, but they were really convincing. Luckily, when the text came through, it said, do not share with anyone, including Amazon. So I was like, well, thank God I read that properly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did one. I got done sitting on the sofa. This was during COVID, and he messaged me saying, "Oh, you need to update your bank card details." And I just idly sat on the sofa with the dog and the kids, just did it, and had that moment. I've just pressed send, and I won't say what I thought, but I
Yeah.
suddenly realised, oh no, I'm an idiot, and I had to ring at the bank and get my cards cancelled. It's just so easy to do. I mean, I think pensions are slightly harder. You'll do a lot more work, so it's not that, but they will warm you up. They'll do what they can to get to ingratiate themselves with the members and get their
100%.
trust, and then get their money out. So number one, scams.
Yeah,
Please
great
don't.
stuff. Right, thanks for listening. Hope you found it useful and informative. And hit like and subscribe to the podcast. And David will be back next week, hopefully with another guest. So see you again. Bye.